Can we clap anyway?
No clapping.
Just for posterity?
I'm Alex. I think my girlfriend's more important than my podcasting.
Let's go, Erin!
Silencio! 20 seconds of silence. Hello and welcome to this episode of Star Wars Generations Podcast. Today, myself, Alex, and Erin are coming to you discussing The Bad Batch Season 3. Today, we're covering episodes 1 through 3. And if you check on YouTube or on TikTok, depending on where we decide to put it, you will see a video recording of this. Yes. Not only are we recording on video, but we are doing this as a way to practice because soon we will be putting this out on live stream. And you'll get particular access to the live streams if you are a member. If you haven't thought about becoming a member yet of the Ethical Panda podcasts, only $5 a month. You get access to awesome streaming content, bonus content. You get access to ad-free content, all sorts of great things, $5 a month. But with that, let's dive right into these episodes. We're just going to talk about them as one batch. Forgive me.
Oh, God. Second dad joke of the day.
Well, there's going to be so many more. So many more. What do we think of The Bad Batch Season 3?
May I?
You may.
Please.
Number 1, Omega ponytail.
That was pretty awesome.
It's so cute. Number 2, Father Cross Daddy, Crosshair himself.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, no.
This is the perfect day to start recording video. Just seeing Erin right now is incredible.
So, just so I understand, when it comes to Crosshair, you are very much on the I can fix him team.
Always. I can fix anybody in my own head.
I mean, Erin and I are on the fix Anakin team, so I don't think fixing Crosshair is as difficult as fixing Anakin.
Similar but different.
Cut from the same cloth.
Okay. Don't get it. I'm with you though. He looked very good. I love how quickly we were getting into the stuff between him and Omega. Let me just say it again. I love how quickly we're getting into the stuff between him and Omega. I love like those animals that she was taking care of. They were so cute.
So cute. And Lurka hounds. And okay, one of them was called Batcher. Is that intentional? Is that supposed to be like, did she name him and like a reference to the...
I'm sure she did. I mean...
That is her domesticated.
Yeah.
You know, because they were like, oh, she's not going to survive out there because you domesticated her too much. And that's why she named her Batcher. Yeah, I wrote that down immediately.
I like
All
it.
caps.
I like it.
Batcher.
I like it. All right, Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I might be in possibly a minority overall, but I really enjoy the direction this is taken. I think it's cool to be able to explore more of like how the Emperor decided to clone himself and his machinations and living forever and how obsessed he was with it. I was really enjoying like theorizing what's going on in that vault. I feel like there's Jedi in that vault. I think the Emperor's presence was very menacing and done very well. I never actually confirmed. Do we know? Was that Ian? Was Ian on voice for this?
I believe it was, yes.
Okay, well, Ian Ian knocks it out of the park every time. So I don't know. It felt very cool.
Most of us know him as Ian McDermott, but Alex apparently is on strictly a first name basis.
Sorry. And the last thing I'll say in my opening comments is that I laughed so hard when they're trying to figure out a plan to escape, and Omega just calmly said, "Let's steal the Emperor's shuttle."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think they're gonna go for this, but if they do, this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I had the same reaction. I was like, are they actually going to do it? Because I don't put it past them.
I was like, no, they're not going to try that. Really? Right?
What's about to happen?
And they kept referencing the M count, the midi-chlorian count, trying to match the M count of the Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got excited. I love the dark lore. with my boy Ian.
Yep. Your boy.
So
what did you think of it, Matthew?
There's an awful lot that I loved. I really am invested in these characters. I'm having kind of the D&D don't split the party feeling of let's get everybody back together pretty soon, please, because it was weird just seeing just Hunter and Wrecker, but realizing that that's how much we're down now because Crosshair is obviously off with Omega. Tech has been obviously we know RIP Tech, and Echo is I guess still off with that other group who he ran off with last time. I admit I think we all talked about.
You mean Rex? Rex is not some other group.
I was gonna say, Matthew. I was gonna correct you, but Rex is daddy. Like I don't think you understand right now. Like,
yeah, but he's not the Bad Batch. Was my only point.
You're right. He's better.
Correct.
He's not on screen. Is my point. Wrecker and Hunter are forgive me. I will pay honorable homage to Big Daddy Rex. But my point is that we just have the two of them, and I think we all talked on our last episode, which Erin did a phenomenal introduction to, by the way. Everyone go check out what it's like to live in Erin's world. My God. Guys, watch the video of this and then watch the video of the podcast that I did on Avatar, where it's me and two other adults. And just the difference in tone is so different. I love this. This is great. I'm podcasting at the kids' table today.
So backhanded.
Did they just call us not adults? Is that what I just heard right now?
No, like I said, podcasting at the kids' table. This is great. But no. So
we're more fun.
You just wait till we get to Revenge of the Sith, buddy.
Okay.
So I'm thrilled about that. It was weird seeing those two. I do hope we get Echo back, but I think it really helped to drive home how much the batch is separated right now. And there was like a couple little moments of like I miss Tech, and I just thought like, this is so real.
No, it was very uncomfortable watching it in that style where everyone is so divided, and it's not just like, oh, they're in different places doing different parts of a mission. It's like no contact. You don't know where the other people are. Like, that was a very, like, comparing it to the start of the first season, or like when they were first introduced in season 7 of the Clone Wars, like, it's so different. And it's like dark and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but it's like a good setting for a story.
You can feel the isolation of Tantus. I mean, you can feel like it felt like this weird cross between like what we would see of Kamino in the Clone Wars, but with the seriousness of like an Imperial like Star Destroyer bridge, or like something like very like it's very like sanitized and like stark and pointy.
And I will say Hemlock is doing his best Thrawn impression, and I'm here for it.
Hemlock is
like, there's so many different kinds of villains, and one thing I really love is I don't feel emotion, I'm just being logical. I am not malicious, I'm not sadistic, but I'm also not compassionate in the slightest. I just am doing my mission. And they establish it so quickly with that shuttle that crashes, and all he says is, no, don't try to rescue them. They're dead already. As we're listening to them scream, and he just shuts off the sound, and you're just like, this man's cold as ice. And like, it makes him a horrifying villain, and one I'm really going to enjoy, seeing play out.
Yeah, it's definitely like, because like in the Expanded Universe books when we were on Tantus, it was Thrawn that figured all this stuff out, and like Thrawn was in his place, and so like he definitely is giving the same vibe, which I appreciate them trying to like recapture that spirit in the character. And I don't know, what did y'all think of the I can't remember her name. Maybe Erin wrote it down.
Wait, hold on. Ms. McGowan was raising her hand.
I apologize.
Do not. I am not the professor. You do not have to raise your hands, but if you do, I'm going to refer to you as Ms. McGowan.
Shut up, Erin. Just interject.
Okay. I was trying, but I don't want to be rude. I just wanted to say the person who voices Hemlock is named Jimmy Simpson. He's like a known comedian. He's been in a lot of stuff, random stuff, but like cult classics. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't look through his discography. I just know because I've seen his face everywhere. But I know him from Psych. That's a great show. And he just does a really good scary villain because he's the same way in the other thing.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved his voice.
I just loved the performance, and I thought like I heard it, and it's like I knew his voice from somewhere. Like
Yeah.
it's like that kind of voice that like sticks
Yeah.
in your brain.
Very distinctive.
Yeah.
Alex, you wanted to ask us something.
Oh, I was just gonna ask what y'all thought of. I can't remember her name, but the clone, the woman clone, who was like guiding
Emery?
Omega around. Yes, thank you. What were y'all's like vibes on her? I felt like she was like this weird mix of like compassionate for Omega and caring about her, but also like very clearly more loyal to the Empire.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna real quick read my few notes on Emery. Just
Pages of notes. I love it.
it just says fuck Emery. That's all it says on here. Like I just do not like that girl. Like I know there can be arguments made for both sides, and like that is an aggressive opinion that I just thought while I was watching it, you know. I'm excited to see how the character plays out. But like any sort of compassion or like connection I was hoping she would give Omega just like wasn't happening until it was like too late. You know? Which is, like, fine, I guess.
I found I really liked having her there because it meant I feel like she's playing the role that Crosshair was last season. And what it meant was that Crosshair's story could move quickly. Because what I didn't want was 6 or 7 episodes of Omega banging her head against the wall, trying to convince Crosshair to work with her, and him being like, no, I can't. I'm too broken. Leave me. It was great in the first episode. I just didn't want it to go on all season. And I felt like introducing her, we now have another clone who is happy to obey, but I think will probably by the end of the season be questioning those loyalties in some way. And that meant we don't have to have it with Crosshair, and Crosshair can still be the person who has no more love for the Empire whatsoever. He just like has given up on himself. And then by the end of even these 3 episodes, Omega has decided to has gotten him to not give up on himself, let alone anybody else. So I really like that. I don't quite get what's up with her glasses. I think the point is supposed to be that they're kind of little like computer screens in some way. I don't really get what's up with her glasses. I think they're supposed to be like computer screens in some way, because I think looking at the entire world through red and yellow crosshatches would be very obnoxious. But yeah, I'm here for her.
Darth Vader sees the whole world through red, weird eyes, to be fair.
Yeah, but
he's Darth Vader and she's like a lab tech.
No, so true. And the Emperor just sees everything just tunnel vision through his little hood. No, I'm kidding. I just think Star Wars in general just has a history of characters that look cool, but like functionality wise, their field of vision is so limited by the things they have on their faces.
That's fair.
Just, yeah.
Oh man.
Mandalorians decided long ago that peripheral vision is just not necessary for good combat.
They have instincts. I also want to bring up, like, the lab and Tantis, I think, was some of the more interesting and my favorite parts of these first 3 episodes. But I thought it was cool the second episode to see Hunter and Wrecker find some like young cadets just trying to survive and getting like a little window into like what it was like, because you wonder like the clones were decommissioned, what happened to all these cadets, and like seeing a few survivors and like how their impression of all of this, I thought was like a unique perspective to see.
Yeah, it raised a lot of interesting questions. I if nothing else, I'm guessing the implication is supposed to be that they didn't have their chips installed yet, that was going to happen like at a later point in their training or something.
It didn't happen at birth. We learned that from Fives in the Clone Wars. Doesn't it happen at the embryo stage?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so maybe because they weren't out in the field, like because certainly they seem pretty happy working.
Well, the chip could still be active, and it's like, yeah, you were on board at first, and then the Empire started abusing you, and you're not on board anymore.
Right. Didn't it make a reference somewhere to that of like a lot of clones have started like kind of fighting back against it or questioning it?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. You're right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, the way I view the chip is like it was a switch for like an instant reaction, and the reaction was kill the Jedi. And like complete understanding of that, and then loyalty to the Republic, which they already have. Well, the Republic is now an empire. So in my mind, I don't see the chip as it's something that's still controlling them all the time. It's like it was there for like a switch event, and then like yes, it enhances their loyalty.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and I'm very curious. I will say of all the different storylines we're exploring, that's the one that I'm most here for. Is just the like our characters themselves, but also just all this stuff about what happens to soldiers after a war. You know, in Star Wars has always been making commentary on our own world, and this I think many countries in the world, especially ours, haven't really figured out what do you do when soldiers come home and the war is over and you have to figure out what to do with them. And clones is obviously a very different situation, but I'm really interested to see where that's going to go. Now, Alex, I want to give you your due because you've said on a couple of forums that you were really excited about the whole cloning stuff and the M count. Talk more about that. What is it about that gets you so excited?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we'll have a full discussion when we get to The Rise of Skywalker. But I did not hate that movie as much as everyone else did. Everyone else did. And I always found like the concept, I've always, my whole life, I've been really interested in like, some of like the mystical, fantasy and mystical backstories, no matter what, franchise I'm looking at. And in Star Wars, the mysteries of the Force and the mysteries of like, how things eventually, would transpire kind of in the background always interested me. And so I found great interest in the premise put it forth in The Rise of Skywalker that, like the Emperor, cloned himself, found a way to live beyond death. And the fact that through between the expanded universe and the Battlefront video game and different novels, like the fact that he was so obsessed with living forever, like Project Cinder, Project Necromancer now. And I think that, I don't know, I just always found it like this cool, like backstory that we never knew anything about, like the fact that the Emperor, being the super powerful Sith Lord, clearly had relics, clearly had knowledge that we didn't know about, and we're going to get a little snippet of that. And like it also makes sense to me that like he like clearly Jedi survived, and he wasn't just going to kill all of them, and so getting to see like that he probably captured them and like is literally using them as experiments, it just to me deepens the darkness of Palpatine and the sinisterness and how he really was pulling so many strings in the background. And to me, I think also makes his character even more compelling. Excuse me, because again, like it's, I don't know, this will and this, it's not only a will to live forever, but it's honestly his greatest weakness is his fear of dying. Like any like mistake I think he would ever make, or any like miscalculation or overabundance of resources he would divert one way or the other, is because he's afraid of death. Like that is his biggest fear. He has this power and I doesn't want to lose it. And so it just interested me. And like I think I get excited hearing like, references to the expanded universe, like, Mount Tantus and the M count trying to get a clone that actually matches the midichlorian count of the Emperor. And of course, Omega being the key to all this. I mean, there have been references to her being force sensitive, and now we have confirmation. That was my spiel. Yeah. I know that's unpopular, so I'm ready for.
No, I love it.
I love
it.
Really
I honestly, I was just gonna say, I feel the same way. No, I don't feel the same way, but like I relate to you in a lot of aspects. It's just like because the Emperor isn't a super interesting character until you give him these sorts of motivations, or until you dive into the expanded universe, like he can seem to the casual viewer very unlimited power, like that's all he comes off as for a lot of people. And so like learning about like what truly crazy thing there was in him, because in every Sith, and I've been reading like some old Republic books that like focus on the Sith, and it's like every Sith has just some like drive, some need. There's something they need or want. And I just listened to a book recently where what they wanted was immortality, and it went horribly awry. You can listen to that in our members club.
Zombies.
Yeah. Anyways, really good book. But it just like gets me thinking about like this is not a new idea for Sith. Like,
yeah,
you have the power, you want to live forever. And if you look back at so many Sith Lords, that's what they were afraid of, was dying and losing their power. Like that's very common for them.
That's how Plagueis
and they
ends
just
up
want
dying.
exactly. And so it's like just seeing. I feel like to me, it's realizing that Emperor Palpatine is on the level of like, okay, don't hate me, but maybe like Darth Revan, you know, like a true evil, like dark Sith Lord that like holds a lot of weight. But since I grew up with Emperor Palpatine being like a scary guy, but like not that scary.
That's so interesting. I'm just curious, Matthew. I'm sorry. Just before you give your take on the M count, what was your impression of Palpatine before the animated shows existed?
Boring as
That's
hell.
so interesting to me.
I mean, like as a kid, I thought that he was scary and like he felt much more like a malevolent force of evil than he did a character. And I think if that is what you want in a story, which I think is a perfectly legitimate thing to want in a story, then that's great. And I think he, in that regard, works very well as a counterpoint to Darth Vader, who is a character who has this moral complexity to him. I think that I think that the prequels hurt his image quite significantly. Like, it was weird because on the one hand, the prequels really deepened my respect for him for all of the manipulation. Every time that Palpatine was off screen, but we were seeing the awesome things he was doing, I was like, this is so good for him. And the scenes of him and Anakin were great, but lines like ultimate power was just like, that sounds like it's out of a Saturday Night Live spoof. Like, it was such a badly delivered line. But I may cut all that out. I don't want to get into the bat. Let me take that all again. But then when it comes to the prequels, I felt like the manipulation of Anakin is brilliant. The manipulation of all the plans is brilliant. But when push comes to shove and he's like given a chance to talk about like what is his actual goal, it's just ultimate power, which to me is just so fundamentally boring. And so that's kind of where I was with him as a character. Well, let me I have a lot more to say on the other stuff you said earlier, but let me let you go back to your question. So let me read that out. Yeah. So I guess that's your answer. It's like I find him interesting as a malevolent force of nature. As a character, I find him rather boring, and I think by the time of the prequels, they're pushing him more as a character, which his plans and his manipulation of Anakin are brilliant. I just have no idea why he wants what he wants, and which is too bad because the stuff you guys are talking about.
I'm so sorry. Give me one moment.
No worries.
You good?
Okay.
Because I do agree with everything you guys were saying about how in a lot of the older stuff, it's la 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 la. Can you hear me now?
Are you good, Aaron?
Aaron, you love boys with red flags. We're making fun of you for it. Aaron loves red flags. Aaron loves red flags.
Says Matthew
Aaron
with the
loves
red
red
hair.
flags. Aaron loves red flags.
This is so
Aaron
funny.
will date someone if they have red flags. Aaron dates the people who have red flags. Red flags, red flags. Aaron loves red flags. Aaron really loves the people with red flags. Aaron has red flags. Aaron now can hear me, and she doesn't like my song, but she went away again. Erin crushes on people with red flags. Red flags.
What happened?
Is Erin back?
Damn.
Can you turn your screen again or no?
I can hear you, but it's not coming through my headphones anymore.
Okay.
It's
If I
fine.
leave it back, does that end the recording?
I mean, I think your phone microphone is quite good at not picking up speakerphone, so we can probably just do that instead.
Okay.
Matthew, did you have any more to add?
Yeah, so let me just kind of wrap it up again. So I do have a lot more to say about the rest of what you said, but I think that's my answer. Is I think as a kid, I was scared of him. By the time of the prequels, I was impressed by his manipulation, but I was rather bored with him as a character.
That's interesting, and I want to give you obviously time to speak on it. I was just going to say I think that the reason maybe that I like this so much is I've always interpreted Palpatine in a different way. I think as a kid, I have this flashback memory as a child. My dad, when he introduced me to Star Wars, like when we got to Empire, he goes, "Oh, you're gonna meet the Emperor soon," and he like built him up as this like dark shadow lurking in the background. Like Vader was the enforcer. Vader was like the one in the spotlight, and there was this dark puppet master in the shadows. And so I always was like terrified and impressed by him, even before they like even really got into the prequels. Like just watching the originals, I was like, wow, this guy's scary. And then to me, the prequels deepened him because of what you said, the manipulations, and then the Clone Wars, I think, and Rebels, I think just furthered all of that. And so I think when I see this, it just furthers that image I have of him, of this dark, shadowy being that is so smart that he's pulled all these strings and is planning all these plans. So that's probably why I think of it differently.
And that's fine. And I think what you guys were just talking about, this idea of, you know, he's obsessed with not dying. He's obsessed with wanting to live forever. I do think it's very interesting. And I think one thing that some of the books from the original canon really highlighted was this idea that not only did all Sith want that, but that, you know, when Bane put his plan into motion, at least all the other Sith could feel, some of them could be like, look, I'm not going to die at some point, but I'm furthering the great plan. And someone will carry the baton from me. Palpatine has ended that plan. So he especially has nothing to live for. And while I'm not like, so stepping back to the larger picture a bit, I do think a couple of different questions are getting conflated. Did I want him, or did I find him interesting in The Rise of Skywalker? No.
Fair.
But it's not, I think, necessarily because we differ on how we see him as he already existed. It's that I thought his story was done. And I thought the sequels were actually doing a good job of going forward. And so it just took a big step backward. As to this stuff, discussions about Palpatine wanting to live forever and that motivation and that stuff, to me, that's fascinating. I will admit what we're getting here in this show, I found pretty boring. But it's not because it's about the Emperor as such, although that's a part of it. It's because I don't want to know the science of the Force. To me, I like the Force as mystical. And mystical isn't something that you can measure in someone's blood. It just, those two things don't match. And to me, it feels like a real betrayal of the... It feels like now not only do they want to, you know, rescue the sequel, which, to be clear, Alex, a lot of people do love Rise of Skywalker. I'm never going to claim that, you know, everybody is against you. I think lots of people love it. Lots of people don't like it.
Right.
But now it feels like they're trying to make midichlorians come back. And it's just like, I think midichlorians is one of the worst ideas they ever introduced. And that I don't think the Force should be able to be
quantified.
It should be quantified, but also if the power I have as a Force user is related to what is in my blood, then we've lost any and all agency.
Right.
And so, yeah, so like, but here's the last thing I want to say. By no means does that mean I think this is a bad show. Right. Because I think there's so much else to it. But also, one thing we've talked about a lot, especially since Andor, is we're now at a point where not every Star Wars project is trying to be all things to all people. And I think that's really good. And I think that a Star Wars show about the a Star Wars show about the darkness, about the moral complexity and the lack of easy to find lines of good and evil that happen as part of rebellion that Star Wars Andor gave us, was utterly phenomenal. Probably my favorite Star Wars project of any kind. It was very much what other people didn't want. And if I'm going to enjoy that and have that, then if along comes another project that says we're going to be all about how did the Emperor clone himself, we're going to get all into the science and the cloning and the laboratories, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm so mad. I just say, okay, that's awesome. I'm glad that project will exist. I will listen to the people who want that to exist, tell me about why they like it, and I'll probably learn things, but I probably wouldn't watch it. And if you had told me at the beginning the show was mostly going to be about, in the end, like what's the science of how he came back, I probably would have said, Aaron, do you want to have your own show for a couple weeks? Because you can run this instead. At this point, I'm invested enough in these characters, And it's not like it's painful on screen. It's just not what I care about very much.
Right. Also, to be fair, I don't think it's the main point of the show either. I think it's just like a vehicle that the show's running through right now.
Yeah, but I just think there's so many other there's so many other vehicles they could have run through that I would find a lot more interesting. But the show doesn't have to be perfect for me.
Yeah.
I think that's so valid, just about like recognizing what other people like that doesn't work for you.
You know, like
this, to me, yeah, this show is like about family and like
Very much so.
loving relationships
of all shapes and sorts and dimensions. And like, I feel like every season there's a different little plot device that they use as like a big mystery. And I feel like it's just one of those. So I heard M count and I wrote down midichlorian ? And I was like, could this be? Are they truly bringing this up? It did surprise me, but then I just kind of like went with it.
I mean, I think that there's like, if they're gonna go down the route of like how do we clone Palpatine and it's a scientific facility, I think that like that is the best with what they already have in the canon world. That is the best way to explain it. Like, I can't think of any other way for them to explain on screen. Like, you know, like you can't just say like, you know, they're not. I guess you could say like they're not as force sensitive as the original host. But I think like the just referencing the midichlorian count like just makes it again, disagree with it or not. I think that like with what they're working with, it makes sense for them to reference it in that way.
Yeah, I think there's other ways you can explore the question, like for example, the way they did it in the original Heir to the Empire books. But given what we have, this is fine. On a little level, honestly, if there's anything that bothers me, I feel kind of insulted that they keep calling it M count, as though they're trying to hide that this is midichlorians. Like, guys, you're doing the midichlorian story. Take that and use that word, and then have a whole bunch of people be like, "Oh my god, midichlorians," because M count is just as bad.
I mean, I think I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think they're doing it to try and like play it off as like we haven't revealed our hand yet. Like we're all implying it, but we haven't actually seen a Jedi in there. They haven't said they're cloning the Emperor. Like, yes, it's implied 8 different ways, but I think if you say midichlorian count out loud, it just completely lets the cat out of the bag. I think they're trying, whether they're succeeding or not is another thing, but I think they're trying to keep some level of like air of secrecy over it. Especially, you have to note, at the end of the day, like it is a kid's show, and so maybe like a kid won't connect M count with midichlorian immediately, so it might be a surprise when they reveal it later in the show. That is my devil's advocate take on that.
The cat you think they have in the bag, like, watch out. It's jumped out of the bag. It's jumped onto the table. It's knocking all the glasses over.
Okay, but if you're 8 years old, is that happening?
I imagine if
devil's.
Can I advocate
As a devil?
You are a devil. Go ahead.
As a general rule, devil's advocacy is a shitty thing to do on ethical topics. It's generally just a way to defend privilege. But on this, yeah, sure, go for devil's advocacy. It's totally fine.
No, I don't want to.
No.
I already did it, so I'm already in hell. So you can just join me down there.
I was just gonna
specifically
say,
said
for
for
me.
media, it's great. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
For me.
I didn't remember a thing about midichlorian until like, I don't know, maybe I listened to this podcast. So like, if you're a more casual viewer, well then there's the argument, would a casual viewer be watching Bad Batch? Probably not, but you never know. But like, if it's been a while since you've seen the prequels, like,
Okay, I didn't connect
did it first. Okay, I'll come out and say it.
Okay, that's totally fine.
They had me going for one scene, and then I was like, oh.
Listeners, if you're listening to us going, oh, midichlorians are M count, I get it, then I will eat crow. I will like find a like picture of a crow, I'll print it out, and I will eat it live on stream to demonstrate my like remorse and, you know, penance before you all. Because it may be that I have PTSD about I'm not gonna say that. Never mind. I have bad associations with midichlorians. And maybe that's just me. So yeah. So maybe that's not as bad as I think. But yeah, most of all, I just feel like as someone who back when Star Wars was making all things that I loved except one movie, was able to be like, yeah, you should like the things that you should not be mad about the things that I happen to really love, because maybe just not everything's for all people.
Yeah.
And I could say hypothetically, and if there's something they make that I don't like, I'll just, not watch it or just not get as worked up about it. So that I'm being hoisted on my own petard, and that's just fine. And I think, as Erin said, that seems to be the main plot focus, but the story still really is about family and connection. And to me, I think one of the most powerful lines was Omega referring to the other woman clone as sister, and drawing that like connection again of here's the way we're all together. Here's the way that this is all a family.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the last thing I want to point out and ask is, do we think that they successfully get any? I mean, they have a tiny sample of Omega's blood, but I feel like they can't actually succeed in getting a larger sample in the end, because otherwise, well, I mean, I guess they can't. I mean, Snoke was Force sensitive, so I guess in theory they could, but why would it have taken 30 years, 40 years for it to come to fruition? I feel like I feel like they trashed Tantus in the end. That's my prediction. They end up with destroying Tantus, and it sets all the research back. But like maybe they have a sample of Omega, or have something that like lets them get back on the trail.
Yeah.
That's like based on like what happens in episodes 8 and 9 and what we see in the sequels. That's what I feel like has to happen. I don't know what y'all have thoughts on that or not, but
I have thoughts. So like for me, this like little lab thing has been very similar to like the Zillow Beast episodes. If that makes sense. Like it seems like a side story. Like in my mind, these experiments are never going to lead to Snoke. Like obviously something else happens, So it's like I enjoy it in that aspect, because it's like I don't assume the outcome, because you never actually know, They trashed Camino, they trashed that other place. Like as soon as an experiment stops working, they just trash it and move on to the next thing. This could be one of the variations that doesn't work.
Well, especially because I do agree, Star Wars has a problem sometimes of introducing technology, and then, like we see that in the middle of the Clone Wars or the end of the Clone Wars, we already have the plans for the Death Star, but somehow it takes them, 25 more years to build the damn thing.
True.
19 more years. And there's a lot of reasons for that I get, et cetera, et cetera. But here I do think it actually makes more sense, because as you said, we're probably going to trash this place. And it is very well established in the canonical novels and the Disney canon novels now that after the Galactic Civil War, after, the destruction of the second Death Star, and then the battles on other planets that kind of go forward after that, that the last remnants of the Empire all fall into fighting each other. And that for a while, they're all just kind of squabbling, and that it is only kind of after a long period of time that one particular group starts to emerge as what will become the First Order. And so the idea that, these various, dark side Imperial factions are all fighting each other, and maybe every now and then one of them starts trying the cloning project and then gets blown up by somebody else, or it's just happening way out on Exegol trying to hide. And like, I could also believe the idea that the Exegol folks are like, look, we are like a year away from finishing, but we're not going to do this until we know there's a solid empire for the Emperor to come back to. And so it's only once the First Order really starts to emerge, and then, so they send out Snoke and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. The other thing, and here again is where I would like to spend more time with the Emperor about this. If I'm the Emperor, as the Sith, the thing you are always supposed to be worried about is that someone's going to come along and replace you. And, that's, Plagueis failed because he didn't think about the fact that his apprentice could kill him. Because all through Sith history, that was always the thing. You had to, your apprentice was one day going to kill you. Palpatine can tell himself that no one can rise up against me because no one else would be strong enough to kill me. As it turns out, Vader plus his son are, but, right. He doesn't think that. But what if they start to get close and he realizes, wait a minute, someone else could figure out this technology, make a clone of me, and then get rid of me, because then they wouldn't need me. They could have the clone. What if he starts getting scared of Vader getting his hands on that technology, or Tarkin, or someone else like that? Because generally the idea is, Like, well, all these Imperials, like, they may not love the Emperor, but they're terrified of the Emperor because they can't stop the Emperor. And also, there is no one to replace the Emperor. And without the Emperor, they can't do it. What if they could replace the Emperor, but they think they could do it with someone they can control, like a clone? So yeah, so I'm headcanoning like utter crazy here, but I think that's all. I do think there's a lot of ways we could headcanon to explain why it is that this is happening now, and it takes however many more years before it happens.
And one more thing I want to point out that I just two things I just put together as you were talking, Matthew, is I just looked it up. I think it was Andor is where we get the scene of the Shadow Council, correct?
Yes.
There is a quote from
no.
that scene.
Is it the Shadow? No, I think it was in.
I think it was season 3 Mandalorian.
Yeah,
you're right. That's what it was. Thank you. Season 3 Mandalorian. We get the Shadow Council, and Captain Palian says, "Quote: Grand Admiral Thrawn's return will herald in the reemergence of our military and provide Commandant Hux enough time to deliver on Project Necromancer," meaning that the project was continuing in the New Republic era, and that clearly something got amiss, and that Hux's father, like Hux we know from the sequel's father, was the one who was then entrusted to bring it into fruition and bring Snoke and them to life. So I just thought that was an interesting connection that I just remembered happened in the Shadow Council. And it's like connecting Project Necromancer back to Thrawn, back to the Mandalorian, back to the Bad Batch. I love connections, which is why I love Star Wars. And the last thing I also just realized as you were talking, I think is going to happen is that the Bad Batch are going to rescue Omega, and they are going to hijack whatever the ships are. Some ship. I feel like an orbital bombardment is going to destroy Tantus. Maybe the Emperor himself orders it on Tantus, but I feel like that is how that place gets destroyed. They keep referencing orbital bombardment ever since Camino got wrecked. I feel like that would be a cool way to destroy Tantus. That was my last take.
That would be
well,
sick. But it would be a little played out at this point. Like, I want something else to happen.
How are you going to destroy it? You plant bombs like Han Solo and Chewie style? Episode 7, they put the bombs and blow a hole in the.
Yeah, no, I know. I just
Aaron looked confused.
Yeah, I don't know. We were wondering what happens to the Bad Batch at the end of the season. Maybe they Rogue One it. But
cool.
Are you fucking kidding me? Don't say that.
Aaron got
That's
mad.
Not funny.
Aaron, I do think there's a not insignificant chance.
I don't
the
want
Bad
to hear
Batch.
the end of this sentence.
I'm with Matthew. I'm with Matthew on this. I won't. I mean, like they don't exist in other projects.
Aaron has established a boundary, so we will not mention the possibility that they all die. We won't discuss the fact that it's possible that none of them survive. We will simply stop talking in any way or referencing in any way the thing that we won't reference because we respect Aaron.
Maybe Omega lives. Here, I'm going to make Aaron feel better. What if Hunter and Wrecker and Crosshair die? But Omega.
That's not how to make Aaron feel better.
Hold on.
I feel better now.
But Omega survives and grows up a little bit and maybe even becomes some sort of like Jedi person. Would that make you feel better? No?
Okay. Because those are her brothers.
Like,
I mean, okay. Crosshair's probably going to die. I won't lie to you.
Here's the thing, guys. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to think about it. Like, I like to let media happen to me.
All right.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
that I can be hurt this deeply.
Okay. Do you think
by
Hancock's
this show
going to die?
in several years?
How about Hancock?
No,
Hancock.
guys, stop. We said Aaron, she wants to stop.
he's probably dead.
But yeah, no. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit, but in general, those are not theories that I ever entertain until it happens, and then I am bitter.
That's
and
fair.
Hurt.
I will just say, because Alex, you brought it up in a couple different ways now, and maybe I'm a purist and I just need to get over this. For me, the story, an essential part of the story, is that the Jedi have been just about entirely wiped out. And that the only remaining Jedi by the time the next movie starts are Obi-Wan and Yoda, with 2 potential Jedi in the Skywalker children. That's it. That's what the canon has been for 30 years. And more recently, we keep having like, well, but what about this one who survived? And what about this one who survived? And what about this one who survived? And with every single one, with Ezra and Ahsoka, they gave us good reasons why they weren't involved. But with every single one you add, you now have to explain to me, why weren't they involved? Why weren't they ones that Yoda could sense? Why? And we could headcanon answers to all that, but I don't know why prequels love to do that. If prequels have said, if an original text says, these are the only ones, why do prequels feel this need to say, oh, but here's an exception, and here's an exception? Why not just accept the original story? So yeah,
why don't we just follow the original Constitution as it's written down in law? No, I'm kidding. I was gonna say that I get what you're coming from, Matthew. I really do, and like I think that just having Yoda and Luke Yoda and Obi-Wan having been the ones that survive does make even Palpatine's plan seem even more diabolical, that he successfully killed everyone and makes him seem that much more powerful. But I also think, like, in reality scope, it feels more plausible that like 50 or so Jedi survive when there was even after the war, there were still thousands of them, of the most trained, force-sensitive warriors in the galaxy. All but 2 were killed. Feels difficult.
And again, I'm not saying that Order 66 killed all of them on that day.
Got it.
I'm saying that over the next 5 to 7 years,
they were hunted down.
There were probably 50 or 100, but Vader and his people hunted them all down.
Right.
But
Omega is this case where like they don't know at all. So
I don't ever see Omega as a Jedi.
Yeah, I don't need her to be
really a Force wielder.
I don't need her to be a Jedi. I mean, she's clearly Force sensitive. I mean, they've already opened that door.
Yeah, but with Chittit, what the hell the guy's name?
Oh, Chirrut? I can't say it either.
Chirrut, yeah. Chirrut, the blind character from Rogue One. We've established the idea that people can be Force sensitive and have like a little bit of cool things without being full on Jedi or Sith or anything like that. And so, Omega is awesome enough that I don't need her to be. I don't want her to be a Jedi.
It's fair.
She's a bad bitch. Like the way
she found her dog in the forest, but she was like, I'm literally taking this shuttle by myself, and I'm 12.
Yeah, that was badass.
And then she went down the way. Oh, it was so fucking cool. When she came down, the door opened, she stepped out, laying down cover fire, Crosshair stepped back, went up.
That was amazing.
That was a very cool sequence. That was a very cool sequence.
They are so like the joy. It's the idea of family. It's the idea of like, yeah, we've spent no time together, but the way that our family works, like plan, 72? Like we both know that like the back of our hands, and it doesn't matter that we're like roughed up. It doesn't matter that we like barely know each other, or we're mad at each other, or we're scared out of our mind. Like they know how to work together. And I thought that was just like really beautiful to see.
Yeah. Look, I am here for Daddy Cross Pascal. It's not Pedro Pascal himself, but it's yet another grumpy man escorting a magical child across the universe. Like, I'm here for it. So we've gone a good while, and I have a little bit of content that I want to have that's not bonus. Everyone can hear it, but it's specifically for those people who have been watching the trailers and know some things that have been spoiled about the show that have not been revealed, because I have some thoughts on that. But is there any last things either you want to say about these episodes before you do that?
Erin, go first.
I'm gonna go ahead first. My hand was up first.
I literally was being
I had written down a quote from Hemlock. He says to Omega, "Emotion and sentiment have no place within these walls. You would do well to remember that."
Mm-hmm.
And then this bitch was like, "Oh, would I?" And he was like, "What the fuck did you say to me?" I didn't write down the rest of that because it was just too crazy. I was like, but that quote, chilling.
It was so good. So good.
I just had 2 more very quick comments. One is on clearly, oh my God. I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. Not Tanwi. What is her name? Is it Tanwi? No. Namaste. Thank
Namaste.
you. God, I have a stroke. Namaste clearly knew from the get-go that Omega was high in midichlorian count, force sensitive, whatever the hell you want to call it. And I'm just curious why she was made in the first place. Was that an order by the Emperor when he was still Chancellor? Was this just an experiment that the Kaminoans did? Was it just a mutation? I'm just very curious why, and I'm wondering if we ever get an answer of why Omega was created in the first place. I feel like there's still a large mystery around her. So I'm just interested in that. The only other thing I want to bring up, is we don't really talk about it much, but the second episode, it was a little scary. It was giving like The Last of Us zombie apocalypse vibes with these freaking vines. As they would cut him down, they'd form little legs and run after him. Like it was
I was like,
scary
fuck
and
that.
and a moment for the first moment in Star Wars history, a Gonk droid got their due. Like truly got their due. He had a purpose.
Wonky.
He was essential to the mission to find Omega.
Gonk.
And I could not, like, as someone
Gonk.
who chased down all the Gonk droids in Lego Star Wars and flew that Gonk ship proudly across the galaxy, I was so proud of that moment. And I just had to bring him up. I had to give him his moment in the spotlight.
I'm glad you brought it up. I had a very different reaction to the vine monster, and I think this is Paul Hoppy's influence on me, and so I'll make sure he listens to this. I'm really sick of seeing our heroes go to some strange planet, disturb some living animal creature who's just living its best life, and then fights back, and then they have to destroy it because they invaded its territory and it's fighting back. And the Rancor was fun. I hated seeing them fight big monsters in Attack of the Clones, because I was like, why do we keep doing this? And I hated it in Mandalorian when they would like killed all the spider things. When wildlife isn't ours to go out and kill, even if and again, it's a story, and they wanted to have a fight scene because it's a fight adventure show. This is just me being like ridiculous, I'm sure, but yeah, I didn't love it.
That's valid.
Sure.
I saw it as like a spooky loose experiment.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like, which is, I mean, what it was, but it was a sentient experiment, so that's true too. But it's just like, what is this? Like, it's so unknown.
Yeah, cool. And that's cool. I mean, discovering, but like discovering awesome new forms of life, cool. Killing them, but fair enough. It was a Sherlock type scene. So sorry, I didn't mean to be a huge downer on all of that. So,
no, right, it's okay. I liked that episode a lot, though. Just like, sorry, you guys kind of touched on it, but just like, it was so good to see young kids and like what happened to them. Because he was like, he still had the idea of I raised to be a soldier, like I am a soldier at like the young age. Yeah. So I kind of hope we get to see them later. Maybe they meet up with like Rex and Echo. Maybe they link.
Yeah, me too. Like I want to see I want to know what Rex has been up to for these 15, like the time between now and Rebels, So we'll see. All right, well, now we're going to jump into a quick spoiler section, and this is just, if you're one of those folks who I often like this, you haven't seen any trailers, you haven't heard any discussion about the show, you only want to talk about what you've seen on screen, I'd say like skip ahead 5 minutes. Otherwise, you probably have heard the spiel before. Become a member, follow us on social media, let us know what you think, give us all the feedback. So with that said, 3, 2, 1. I really don't like giving us a huge drop of a reveal of who's going to show up, and then that person not showing up in like the first episodes you drop. Because now we're entering into, when is Asajj Ventress going to show up? Mostly it's because of these spoiler conversations, because like it's fun to talk about. Okay, when is Asajj going to show up? But then people who don't want to know that, like, are they going to get spoiled or not? If you're going to show it in the trailer, if it's a huge thing like that, at least bring her in some way. Like make that happen, because if nothing else, all over social media, people could be like, oh my, we haven't seen Asajj yet. And that's just going to be the last thing for people who didn't want to know that until they saw her on screen.
That's true. Yeah. It always, Yeah, because it gets hard like online to avoid a spoiler like that when it's pushed out. I see what you're saying now. I see it. I am on the spoilers. Very excited to see Fee.
I can't wait to see
We
Fee.
see her
I
in the
can't wait to see
trailer.
Cad Bane. I'm going to continue hoping against hope that sexiest man in the galaxy, ultimate hero of the galaxy, Hondo Anaka shows up.
Oh,
We'll see.
It's
would love
all
that.
I can dream of. Incredible.
What was I gonna say? I don't know. I kind of see where you're coming from, Matthew. I just feel like I actually would have been more disappointed if she showed up so quickly. Because then, like, if you bring her in the first episode or two, I feel like that she has to be like recurring and like present, unless she just like has a very quick cameo appearance. I feel like it makes sense. Like, excuse me. Like in my brain, the way this is gonna go down is that like, I don't know. She's gonna be brought in either by like Rex or someone to like help them like on the ground mission on Tantus, to like retrieve all of these bumbling, buffoons down there. By bumbling buffoons, I mean the Bad Batch. I'm tired. Sorry, y'all. But I think that like bringing her in a little bit later doesn't bother me that much. I get where you're coming from. Like, why drop it then? Like, why not just leave it to be a surprise? I agree with you on that respect. I just don't think it bothers me per se that like she's not here now. I just think it was stupid for them to have included her in the trailer in the first place. Like, just I would have been like, it's like, unless there's a bigger reveal that is meant to divert our attention from, which would be, I don't know what bigger reveal you're gonna have. Like, you're bringing Saj back from the dead, unless like. I don't know. I mean, like, I think Vader would be weird to include here. You already got the Emperor. Luke's not going to show up. Obviously he's not alive yet. Like, I just don't know. Or he's alive. He's a baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's
alive.
5 years old. He's 5 years old. Like, who is big enough of a person to bring in at this point that would like trump her? No one. So just leave it to be a surprise.
Hondo Anaka.
I'm so tired. Hondo would trump her, I will say.
No,
Hondo would trump her.
I'm kidding. Me and Sarah Hayashi have that love. Not everybody does, but yeah. Like I said, I think you could have done a 5-second cameo with her somewhere, or just not include her in the trailer,
or just like maybe just like show a flash of a yellow lightsaber, like just show like we don't know who it is, like a yellow lightsaber, a Force user, a Jedi, like what's going on? I don't know. It's just I just feel like it's an unnecessary. It's not like in episode 7 where like bringing Han and Chewie back was necessary to get fans in the door. Like everyone who's gonna watch the Bad Batch was gonna watch the Bad Batch with or without her in that trailer. It just took away that moment for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I will say I'm probably soured on this question somewhat also because Ahsoka's my favorite character. Ahsoka's one of my favorite characters. I was super excited for her to have her own show. But when you told me that you would cast Grand Admiral Thrawn, honestly, every episode I spent thinking, are we going to see Grand Admiral Thrawn here? And I think I would have liked that show a lot more if I hadn't been so focused on getting Grand Admiral Thrawn and then not having him to like the last 2.5 episodes of an 8-episode series. That felt like such a waste of him when you had made such a big deal about casting him. So,
what if Thrawn shows up? What if he's the big reveal?
That was what I was gonna say, and you didn't let me talk, but it's fine. Yes, that was because what if Thrawn's the one who bombards it all, and that's how Hemlock goes too. Thrawn's
that's definitely I'm on board. Aaron
has
told me. I'm fully on board. The Emperor calls Thrawn in. Thrawn does it with Hemlock. Thrawn takes over Project Necromancer. Oh yes, this makes so much sense. Aaron, you sold me. I'm fully on board with this plan. Thrawn is definitely the big bad. He trumps the Savage Ventress. That's why we got Ventress. All right, I'm cool with it all now.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Aaron,
say.
You just solved all of my
Thrawn's
issues.
taking over another TV show.
Aaron just solved all my issues.
I mean,
I will say though, on the Ahsoka stuff, I didn't have that reaction personally, and so I'm glad that like this sounds like selfish, but it's like for how much it affected you, I'm glad that that wasn't my experience of like waiting for Thrawn, because I haven't read the books and I don't know that much about Thrawn. So like I was excited, but like I was here for Ahsoka, like every moment, every breath, like that was why I was there. But it is like a bummer that you would add a character like that and take away from the main character for many people.
Yeah, I think if I had just been like, oh, awesome, Ahsoka, I love Ahsoka. Oh my God, Thrawn! Like that would have been so much better. But no, but I think those are great points. And when you said something else that I wanted to respond to, and that was completely out of my head. I'll say, and Thrawn showing up could be fun. Now in our canon, in Disney canon, it's been established that Thrawn shows up as a new person that no one's ever seen before and joins the Imperial Academy during this time period. So it'd be weird if he shows up as like an Imperial Admiral or something like that. Now, he does show up by like causing havoc at another Imperial project, so that could be a fun way to bring him in. And I do think that one of the things I love most about some of the new books is this idea of a rivalry between Thrawn and Anakin/Vader. And so one of the questions that I've had this entire time is, does Vader know about Project Necromancer? Because again, like we have this established thing of you have the master, you have the apprentice, and then the apprentice is going to secretly train someone to help him take over from the existing master. And so, or the master is training a new apprentice. So if I'm Palpatine, let me say that again. If I'm Vader and I find out that Palpatine's getting ready to like make a new version of himself, A, I might think, well, that means I'm on the shopping block. Or B, I might think, oh, cool, I'll go get that one and get rid of this one. So I can see a lot of reasons why Palpatine would want to keep the secret from Vader. And I hope that that's a question they explore.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know, like, just how.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just was checking one. You go first, Erin. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm curious to see just how on the down low it was. Like,
yeah. I just to the book Empire Service in 15 BY is probably right around where we are right now, if not a year before. I mean, what do you think? Like, it's been how many years has it been? Do you think 2, maybe?
No.
What are you guys talking about?
Okay, so hold on a second. Alex is talking about in the book. It says the exact year that Thrawn entered Imperial service,
which is 15 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Right. BBY is the dating construct that's used.
This.
Right. So what he's saying is that we know it has been established that Thrawn starts working for the Empire in 15 BBY, which is 4 years after Order 66. Because we know that Luke is 19.
Yeah.
At the time of the Battle of Yavin.
So basically, Aaron, just think of it this way. Everything in the Star Wars universe they've created is all timed based on the Battle of Yavin, aka how it relates to the original movie. Right.
Yeah, she said she knew that.
100%. I was just confused because I don't know why you think it's been 4 years since the Clone Wars.
I corrected myself.
Yeah,
2
that
years.
seems way too long.
Well, the reason I said like 2 years is because
like,
hold on a minute, please. Omega was taken, and they kept saying it's been a long, long time. I feel like the first little bit was probably the first like year, like the first 2 seasons, probably a year of the post Clone Wars era. I mean, like it takes time to phase out the clones, bring in all this new stuff. I think that was taking place over a course of roughly a year of them doing all those missions, maybe even a little bit longer. And then I think Omega's been gone for like, I think it's been like another year because they made progress. They said she's been like, Hunter made a point. She's been gone for a long, long time. Like, it's been tons of rotations. They've been doing missions. I could be wrong. I could be way off, but I interpret this as being right now we are in this season, roughly 2 years post Order 66. I could be wrong, but that is how I've been interpreting it.
Yeah.
I just I counted up the little marks Omega made, and there was 21. So I said to myself, it's been 21 days.
21 rotations, though, is different depending on the planet.
Yeah. Or it could be like 21 weeks.
Yeah.
21 months.
Yeah. I think we haven't been told. I think it's too soon for Thrawn, and also like getting Lars Mikkelsen to try and act like voice act someone who's 30 years younger than what he's always been playing, or 20 years younger, feels like it'd be weird. So it'd be a fun idea, but I don't see it happening.
Maybe they got a different surprise.
We'll see.
all find out soon.
All right. Well, any last comments from anybody?
I didn't really get to talk about Hunter this episode, to be honest with you. So I'm just really excited for future.
No, let's talk about Hunter right now.
No, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about him. He's just daddy. Like, he's just so fine. Like, I thought it was going to change. Other than there's that, he gave me the ick, guys. This is how into this person I am, is that I can get the ick from something, from a fictional character. Anyways, he's sitting there, like, on the data pad thingy, and just the way his armor is, he looks like a very iPad kid. And I thought it was so funny.
Love it.
Anyways, so I can't wait to get more Broody Hunter and just like.
Okay, well, who is higher on the daddy hotness scale? Crosshair or Hunter?
It's Hunter. It's Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
Tattoo that goes all the way down does it for you a little more than the crosshair tattoo.
I also like long hair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I just want to bring in, according to what I just found online, there's 164 hash marks apparently on the wall.
Oh, okay.
So they estimate 5 month rotation on that planet minimum, but like it can be different in galactic standard years. So like according to the articles I've read, most fans are assuming that like at this point we're roughly a year post Order 66. So I don't know, a year or two.
Okay.
Either way, it is too early for Thrawn, unfortunately. I think, unless they're already retconning one book, Matthew, in this show. What's to stop from retconning a second book? I'd be mad about it.
Well, we don't know for well, no, we do know for sure they're retconning it. So yeah, well, unless it's a clone of Asajj Ventress.
It could be a clone or a flashback. So we don't know for certain. We are like 90% sure though that they're retconning the book.
All right, the horrified look on Erin's face tells me it's time to go. So Erin creates awesome stuff on her Instagram and her TikTok. Please check that out. Alex does incredible photography. Check that out. This, of course, is part of the Ethical Panda podcast. Check them all out at theethicalpanda.com. Mostly, though, I want to know from you guys, what do you think of the show? Let us know in all the different social medias. You can join our Discord. You can email us. Anything you want to do, let us know. We'll talk about your thoughts on future episodes, because we are now, for the next about 3 to 4 months, we are the Bad Batch podcast. We'll probably sneak in some other things. We're going to get our coverage of Revenge of the Sith in sometime there. Yes, we may actually do an episode called The Trial of Anakin Skywalker with myself as the presiding judge. Absolutely not biased.
I have already a person lined up as a witness on my side.
Same.
Matthew's just stunned face. Erin and I are ready for this, Matthew.
Oh, so Erin, are you the prosecuting attorney if Alex is the defense?
Wait, no.
I think Erin's on my defense team.
Yeah, this is.
What have we brought?
You're supposed to bring the people. You're supposed to bring the other.
Wait, what have we brought? I'm gonna say his name. Is Riki the one that we recorded with last time? Is that his name?
Yeah, Riki. Actually,
he seems very level-headed. What if he was the judge and you were the prosecution, and me and Erin were the defense team?
Erin, I thought you were a little more critical.
Discuss it.
We'll discuss. Yeah, I think Alex, you might be throwing on some thoughts. I'm somewhere in the middle. So we'll see. Anyway,
are you the
thank you all. Yes, exactly. Thank you all so much. Check out all the podcasts. I am the Bendu.
Stay classy, Mount Tantus.
Emotion and sentiment have no place within these walls.
Yep. And we're done. I'm going to hit end recording.
Wow.